Hey everybody, my name's Kyle Grossmiller. I'm a VDI Solutions Architect here at Pure Storage. We're here at Citrix Synergy 2017. We've got some really new and exciting integration and innovations to talk about between the Pure Storage and Citrix partnership. First and foremost, we always recommend our customers go to Citrix Ready to look at joint solutions pre-validated and pre-qualified by both Pure Storage as well as Citrix. So please take a look at the websites listed here to get a lot more information about what I'm about to go into today. Well, I guess let's take a step back though. Who is Pure Storage? What is Pure Storage? Pure Storage is all flash arrays for the data center. This is our latest generation product, the FlashArray M. Highly modular, highly stateless, customized design, built to use all flash from the ground up. A lot of our competitors are stuck retrofitting existing disk-based technologies to use all flash arrays, whereas we have had the benefit of basically designing and building our product from the ground up to use all flash arrays. Our array is stateless, so you can swap in and out controllers, middle of the workday, completely transparently to your Zen desktop users. So imagine that. Imagine upgrading firmware on your array, doing capacity expansions, even generational controller upgrades, completely transparently to your end users. They would never know anything happened on the back end. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of customer references and examples where this has taken place many times. So definitely encourage folks to take a look at that. Pure Storage FlashArray M is a block storage device, so it supports 10 gigabyte iSCSI as well as 16 gigabyte fiber channel. But perhaps the most transformational thing about Pure Storage is our Evergreen storage model. What Evergreen Storage means to our customers is really a subscription to innovation. So with Evergreen Storage, customers have an initial CapEx spend to buy the array, then after that it is OpEx. And as part of that OpEx, so long as our customers are up to date on their maintenance agreements, they get our latest and greatest controllers for free every 3 years. And that's equivalent to the previous generation. So part of that subscription to innovation also includes 100% of all software is included for free. Our maintenance is flat and fair. That means it's not going to go up over time. It just stays consistently flat. And of course, upgrade flex. So say you run out of performance on one of our controllers because you've added a bunch more Zen desktop users to it. We actually give you a trade-in credit for say an M20 controller versus an M50 controller. So the upper between the two is just the delta. Right? So we don't want our customers to have to rebuy any performance or rebuy any capacity ever in the storage model. And so why is this subscription to innovation so important? So if you look at the history of our company, since Pure has been around, since we were founded in 2009, started shipping product in 2011, just within that history, 2012 to 2016, this is how fast the innovation curve has been for solid state drives. When we first came out, 128 gig to 256 gig solid state drives were very commonplace. You look at what's in the market today, we're already up to around 4 terabyte to 8 terabyte SSDs. So if you look at a petabyte of effective usable storage just within the storage industry itself, we've gone from 6 racks down to 10U, and that's just within the history of our company shipping product. So that's why the subscription to innovation is so important and not having to do forklift upgrades, simply because the solid state market is changing so quickly and so fast. So with that, we're going to change gears a little bit and talk a little bit about some of our integrations with Citrix. So our Pure Storage GUI, simple to use, simple to manage. This shows you kind of the 3 to 5 metrics that I think most storage administrators generally care about. First and foremost is during this test, we ran 1,500 concurrent Citrix PVS users using Login VSI. So this is Login VSI knowledge worker type workload. You can see the array is only 16% full, despite 1,500 PVS users being on it. That's because we do inline deduplication and compression of that user data to gain tremendous efficiencies, right? So with our array, you will see raw versus usable storage. So basically, we dedupe that very well. 7-to-1 to 10-to-1 data reduction ratios are very common for Zen desktop deployments. Next is that, as I mentioned there, 7-to-1 data reduction for PVS. With machine creation services types of deployments, we generally see 10-to-1 and above because there's a lot more link clone type desktops for us to do Windows deduplication on. You'll notice too, very important, sub-millisecond response time throughout the simulation. So despite us running 33,000 IOPS, 587 megs of read to write ratio during this 1500 user simulation. We're maintaining sub-millisecond latency throughout, which is very, very important for your end users to be happy, right? IOPS is a number that has a lot of, vendors talk a lot about IOPS in the industry, but I would argue that IOPS are a measure of concurrency, whereas latency is a true measure of response time. Latency needs to be sub-millisecond in order for your end users to have that snappiness, responsiveness when they launch their Zen app applications, when they launch their Zen desktop applications. So next with that, step in here and we'll take a quick look at what our best practices are. And this is going to go pretty quickly because our best practices are very straightforward and very easy. So what you can see in the demo here is that we have a Zen desktop delivery controller. We're going to go into the hosted settings, right? So what we found is that for Zen desktop delivery controllers, the default settings for things like concurrent power operations, machine operations, how many desktops can I boot up at the same time, are quite conservative by default. Because Pure Storage is an array with hundreds of thousands of IOPS available at a very low latency, you can actually crank up these volumes quite a bit. So you can see that absolute is 40, we're taking it up to 90. We're moving the number of simultaneous personal vDisk updates to 90, moving the overall percentage to 90 across the board, and then the number of new actions per minute, we're taking all the way up to 100 per minute. So what does that mean for you as a VDI administrator? It means you're able to do things like bootstorm operations, machine catalog updates faster than you were in the previous world. So you can see that's it, and that's really our one best practice. We also have best practices associated with Zen Server Hypervisor, things like setting round-robin multipathing, but really that's it. We want this works very, very well out of the box. Next slide I want to show is our simplicity. This is how easy it is to create and provision data on the Pure Storage array. So you can see here we're in the Pure Storage GUI, we're creating a volume, and this is really it. You hit a plus to create a volume, you give it a name. We're going to name this one, we're going to name some Tech Congress. We're going to give it a size. So in this case, we're going to give it, let's go ahead and give it 5 terabytes in size. Why not? And then we're going to create it. So that's it. This volume has now been created and provisioned. So on Pure, there's no rating, there's no tuning, no tiering, nothing like that. It's all 100% auto-tuned and ready to go. The next step is simply to connect a host or a group of hosts to that volume. And then lastly, you would go into your Zen Center instance and actually provision that storage to your cluster. And really that is it. That is all that you need to do in order to provision storage on Pure. So a lot easier than a lot of the incumbent solutions, and we often have to tell our customers, you need to unlearn what you have learned with respect to storage infrastructure, because this is really that simple to use. So you can see here we're adding our group of hosts to the data store. And again, that's it. The only other step after this is to provision that data store within your Zen Center instance. Then a couple more things you can do here just to show that ease of use is if you wanted to resize a volume. So let's say I started off with 5 terabytes and I've outgrown it over time. You can go in here and edit that volume. Very, very simple, easy to use. So we have 5 terabytes. Let's say we need to double it. We've got a new workload moving on to this data store that we need to increase. Now we're up to 10 terabytes. Then that's it. The volume has been re-provisioned, this additional size has been added, and you would simply need to repartition that storage in order to complete the operation. With that, going to move ahead now to the final demonstration of this presentation, which is our performance. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to bootstorm 1,500 concurrent MCS Zen desktop sessions at the same time. As I mentioned earlier, we increased the number of concurrent power operations within the delivery controller. So now let's see what that looks like from a demonstration perspective. We have 1,500 desktops in our pool, approximately 150 are already turned on, but we're going to change our power management policy to actually power on all 1,500 now at the same time. So we're going to click OK on that. And that should immediately cause these desktops to begin to power on. In this instance, we're using vCenter, but this is exactly the same in Zen Center as well. So now the delivery controller has noted the power change operation, and it's going to start booting VMs here in just a second. On the Pure array, you can see we're driving about 1.5 to 1.2 to 1.7 gigabytes of bandwidth a second. 60,000 IOPS, but notice we're still maintaining that sub-millisecond latency. So if you're doing this operation while other users are running on this array, active VDI users, no noisy neighbor phenomenon whatsoever. Those users this is going to be transparent. Now you can see all of those Zen desktop VMs are powering on very quickly, I might add, at the rate of about 100 VMs per minute. If we go back to the Pure Storage GUI, again, we're pushing about 2 gigs a second, which is totally crazy, right? Now we've fast forwarded through time because no one wants to watch a 1500 desktop boot store from start to finish. But overall, you can see that took about 14 to 15 minutes. So we were able to hold true to that 100 desktops per minute booting up. If we go back to the delivery controller, we can in fact see that all 1,500 of these VMs, well, 1,498 VMs are now powered on and ready to go for use. That's the last of the demos. Just a couple more slides real quick. We have validated ShareFile, Citrix ShareFile as well on our FlashStack converged infrastructure solution. FlashStack is our infrastructure solution that we partner with Cisco as well as Citrix. Uses Nexus switches as well as Cisco UCS. This is kind of a high-level view of how it works. It goes through the NetScaler, and you can save it on-prem as well as off-prem for those hybrid cloud models. So perhaps with ShareFile, you want to keep some of your data on-site, some more data that you want to keep encrypted or close to home on-site, but maybe data you don't care as much about or lower priority data you can send off to the cloud. Basically be able to move it back and forth and access it from any Internet of Things device. Your iPad, your Palm Pilot, your iPhone, anything that, any modern device. Anyway, I encourage customers to take a more in-depth look at this. I'm just kind of briefly going over here because this is brand new from both Citrix Ready as well as Pure Storage. And you can see lots of data movement going around here, but very easy to set up and simple to use. Finally, wanted to invite customers who are interested to come to Pure Accelerate. It's in June 12th through the 14th. I'll be presenting a lot more in terms of large-scale VDI, best practices, lessons learned from customers, as well as some other really exciting product announcements. With that, thanks everybody for your time, and enjoy the rest of Synergy. Thank you.